Welcome to the Optimal Longevity Series. My name is Dr. Cord, and I'm here with Jonette Biebensheimer. I'm the lead physician of Dr. EMF, and Jonette is the lead researcher for Dr. EMF. We have a great night this evening. We have Dr. Prasad and the Corbier brothers. We're going to blow your minds, but first, we have to get some things taken care of.
Right.
We're going to start with our disclaimer. The statements tonight and comments have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This information is for educational purposes only and includes recent advances in research on micronutrients. Engage, the micronutrient company, does not claim that our products diagnose, treat, cure, heal, or prevent any diseases or injury. Engage's products do, however, address our deficiencies and provide our bodies with the nutrition we are lacking. Nothing here is intended to be a substitute for treatment or a visit to your primary healthcare provider.
Excellent. We have to get housekeeping out of the way, but we'd like to first of all introduce our very special guest, Dr. Kedar Prasad, and Dr. Cord is going to take just a few minutes to read his accolades. So some of you may not know, but he is a living legend. And tonight we're going to get to see his body at work, actually in action. And so it's going to be a super great call. Go ahead, Dr. Cord.
Well, tonight's accolades are a little different than most nights. Dr. Kedar Prasad obtained his master's degree in zoology from the University of Bihar in India and PhD in radiation biology from the University of Iowa City in 1963. He received his postdoctorate training at the Brookhaven National Laboratory in Long Island, New York, and joined the Department of Radiology at the University of Colorado Health Sciences Center, where he became the professor and director of the Center for Vitamin and Cancer Research. He has published well more than 250 articles in peer-reviewed journals and authored more than 33 textbooks in areas of radiation biology, nutrition and cancer, and nutrition and neurological diseases, particularly Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, and diabetes. These articles are published in highly prestigious journals such as the Science, Nature, and Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, USA. Dr. Prasad has received several honors, which will include the invitation by the Nobel Prize nominating committee to nominate a candidate for the Nobel Prize in Medicine in 1982. In 2017, he was invited to become a member of the Royal Society of Medicine, London. He was also invited for the 1999 Harold Harper Lecture at the meeting of the American College of Advancement in Medicine. He received an award for the best review of 1998 and 99 on antioxidant and cancer, and in 99 and 2000 on antioxidants and Parkinson's disease by the American College of Nutrition. He was a fellow of the American College of Nutrition and served as president of the International Society of Nutrition and Cancer from 1992 to 2000. Currently, Dr. Prasad is the Chief Science Officer of Engage Global. It's with my great honor that we welcome you to our program.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you,
Prasad.
Dr. Cord, and nice to be with you as usual.
Excellent. Well, we have really special
Yes, I like
call
to
for
know.
tonight. We want to welcome Dr. Jean-Ronel Corbier, pediatric neurologist, and his twin brother, Dr. Paul Corbier, board certified internist, to tonight's call on autism. They have such a broad knowledge of many different things in their career, but right now they are focused on their brain restoration clinic. And I think it's going to be such an amazing call. I was looking at their mission and I thought, I'm not going to share this. I want them to share why they're on this call tonight and a little bit more about their brain restoration clinic and why we are having this call. Go ahead, Dr. Jean-Ronel.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We're very happy and honored to be on this call with Dr. Prasad and all of you. And thank you for the introduction and making this possible, this great meeting. So as you've heard, I'm Dr. Jean-Renel Corbier. I'm a child neurologist, board certified in this field. And many years ago, my goal was to study the brain and to learn everything I could about neurology. At first, I wanted to do adult neurology, and before that, really neurosurgery. But then I thought, no, I think neurology would be more suitable for my personal interest. And I decided to work with kids because the brain is very malleable and neuroplastic. And so I thought that would be a great thing to do. To make a very long story short, I worked in the hospital for many years, but felt that the conventional system was a little bit restrictive and not a lot of autonomy. And so I decided to leave the hospital to open up my own clinic called the Brain Restoration Clinic. The emphasis is on optimizing brain function. As all of you may know, there are a lot of things that can impact brain function. And so we wanted to have a clinic where we use more natural approaches so that we could help the brain flourish, the brain of kids, and that entails making sure the whole body is functioning well. In 2018, I was joined by my twin brother, Paul, who's an internist. He'll probably say a few things about him. And together, we see a lot of patients from different areas to see if we can optimize their brain function. Autism is one of the conditions that we love working with, but we see kids with a variety of neurological conditions. So our goal then is to provide care and optimize brain function using a little bit more natural and functional means to help the kids to thrive. Paul, do you want to?
Sure. So Jeanette and Dr. Corey and Dr. Prasad and the team, we're happy that we could be part of this team. For me, my emphasis has been in internal medicine. That was the field of interest that I've had to dabble in a little bit of everything. I started out in a multi-specialty practice, and that was great. So next to me, I could talk to the endocrinologist or, plastic surgeon, OBGYN. So we had this collaborative type of practice, 200 multi-specialty physician-driven practice. But after a while, I felt the need to work in solo practice. So that's why I did that too, and start to have an interest in wellness and health beyond traditional medicine. And after that, I also worked in correctional medicine, working in the prison system. I was drawn to that, and let me tell you, it was a challenge, but I wanted to help that particular population base, and they were very sick. I started to think a lot about nutrition, mental health, behavioral health issues in that setting, neurologic conditions. Also did a little stint with hospice care, so cancer, and stage diseases, was a passion of mine as well for a while. And then in 2018, as my twin brother said, we had the privilege of working together as twins, bringing together our different perspectives in medicine and healthcare to help our patients, with emphasis on the brain and neurologic conditions.
Fantastic. Gives me goosebumps.
I know.
Love that.
And
Thank you.
their brain restoration clinic is in Indian Land, South Carolina. And they
Yeah.
serve the whole family, not just the
Okay.
children, all their family. So they originally submitted, how long have you guys been using the Engage products in your clinic?
I think, well, has it been a
Well-
couple of years now? Or
Yeah, a little bit, about a year. Yeah. Seems longer since we,
Yeah, seems-
that's why we
Seems
hesitate.
like forever.
Yeah, but that's
So
about a year.
You
A year.
two submitted some questions for Dr. Prasad, and he reviewed them, right, Dr. Prasad?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
so he came back with a very detailed response of precise mechanisms of action, and I believe novel approach. But I think that maybe we should start with your questions and walk through them, and then maybe he could submit walk through his findings of his paper, which are the solutions for you two.
Okay.
And in even more detail, which is amazing work. So would Dr. Jean-Renel, would you like to read the questions to Dr. Prasad, and then we can walk through that?
Sure, okay. And kind of the way we had thought about it is there are 7 questions. I was going to start with the first question, then alternate. My brother would do the second question, if that's okay. So, yes. So the first question, Dr. Prasad, first of all, we work a lot with kids with autism for 20 plus years. And as you know, kids with autism have a lot of gastrointestinal problems with detoxification, problems with immune, and a lot of different dysregulation. And so the question then is, when it comes to products, the microdaily, what approach we use with that patient population versus kids that are healthy, that may not have autism? Because as we know, kids with autism have a lot of different things going on simultaneously.
I think, for me, whenever I look at specific, say, for example, disease, autism, spectrum disorders, and then I first thing I look at what is the real problem with them. Behavior problem, we know they are terrible behavior problem, but internal risk factor, what are there that can be each addressed to? And so doing the research on the published materials, we found that one of the problem with this in most of the diseases, including autism, is increased oxidative stress and inflammation. And people have measured in their inflammation markers, and they found that they are all elevated. So the question is then, okay, that we know this one, and this is also true for many other diseases. Oxidative stress and inflammation is involved almost all human chronic diseases. In case of neurological, Parkinsonism, Alzheimer, you name it, they are involved there. And so the question is, how do you reduce at the same time? As you know, previous efforts clinically, generally tendency is to start one antioxidant at a time. No, but it has not one antioxidant, it has a multiple antioxidant. So for that purpose, we developed the micronutrient, the hydro EMF microdaily, and also the capsule form. And the difference is only that one is hydro form is rapidly absorbed, and capsule is slowly absorbed, but net result is same. But in case of acute, like cases of the autism, I generally recommend if you are adult or I given in a protocol, I've given the age differences. So the beauty of this product is that we have tested it, that it can reduce oxidative stress and inflammation at the same time. This is very important to remember it. So it is oxidative stress is one of the defects that we have found. And as you know, if you have and then another very important, most important, another one is, and you mentioned it, is the intestinal problem. We call it intestinal dysbiosis, but it is much more severe intestinal dysbiosis than generally you are associated with, say, diabetes or Alzheimer. It is much more severe, and severe to the point that for example, the gut is so problem, like, you have the diarrhea, constipations, bloating, these kind of symptoms, GI symptoms you see, generally you see in the intestinal inflammatory bowel syndrome type of things. So not only that, the problem is that if you have a poor digestive system, then in this particularly in Alzheimer, among everything, the protein is not absorbed adequately. So how they found out? Because when they measured the urine level, they found there is a lot of peptides. They're not supposed to have any peptides. And what peptide is of the dietary origin. So they concluded that the protein is not being digested. And so not only have intestinal dysbiosis, but you have a digestive problem. And when you have this kind of problem, then all the nutrient cannot get absorbed. For example, if you give a microdaily, EMF, or hydro, if you have not corrected first, the gut is not going to be very effective. Mm-hmm. And so And so that then we have a method that we proposed that can improve it. And also, for example, there is a hormone called secretin hormone. And secretin hormone also is called glucagon-like peptide, or this is secretin, another name is, and they are produced in the gut. Now, when gut is not very happy, very ill, that can produce this secretin. And secretin production, reduced production, has been linked to the poor communication. They can't, communicate very well. And as a matter of fact, they found out that in a mice, if genetically knock out the secretin genes, then mice cannot communicate with the other, whatever method of communication is there. So they confirm that. So you have to, especially autism, this is the most crucial things, that you correct the intestinal dysbiosis. And so how do you correct intestinal dysbiosis? Well, one method is the probiotics with prebiotics. And as you know, probiotics and with prebiotics prebiotics is very important, because that is a fiber, soluble and insoluble fiber. They have to be fermented to produce all kind of short-chain fatty acid, like butyric acid, propanoic acid, acetic acid, and they're very helpful for your health. And so that's one way. Second way is that you must provide a digestive enzyme. Digestive enzyme, without that, it won't work as much as you like to. And in a clinical study, actually, they found that digestive enzyme, if you give them, there is improvement 90% in communication, 80% in hyperactivity, reduction in hyperactivity. That's amazing. You know why? Because now the protein is being absorbed correctly. Not only protein, but many things are being absorbed correctly. And then you have no problem. Plus, you have giving a probiotics. So the intestinal dysbiosis is reversed. So, but anyway, I would not talk anymore.
No.
A specific example. In other words, our approach has been that in any disease, you have to address all the defects that are there at the same time, not one after another, because but most of the clinical study, as you know, is one at a time.
So Dr. Prasad, to recap, because you're dovetailing really into Dr. Paul's area as an internist, and I was like, oh, going there, that did he, Dr. Jean Ronel, did he answer your question about children with autism having increased GI nutritional and detox issues? How does...
You answered the oxygen issue, right? Wasn't it oxygen? Oxygen, as you know, is very important, especially sometimes brain has a problem oxygen. But you also remember that 20% of respired oxygen used by mitochondria, 20%. So much so that 2% of unused oxygen leaks out and generates billions of free radicals. I want to be rich. So billions of free radicals. And then you would have thought that the brain should have a higher level of antioxidant defense system. No, opposite is true. Among all organs, brain has the lowest level of antioxidant defense system, namely, the antioxidant compound as well as the antioxidant enzymes. And then you say how brain functions. It has a unique property that it has a great plasticity. So it can function with a fewer neuron than otherwise you lose. And as you very well know, that after the age of 20, gradually, normally, start losing it. So when you breathe oxygen, it is very important that you provide sufficient amount of antioxidant in your brain so that the usefulness of oxygen is also maintained. Because oxygen is very important, especially in many cases where there is a lack of oxygen. But at the same time, oxygen has a double-edged sword. It can provide energy, because without that, you can't generate energy. But at the same time, as a byproduct, it generates a lot of free radicals.
All right.
Thank you.
That's, he's so awesome. So Dr. Paul, would you like to ask the second question?
Yes.
Sure. I will. So my second question, and just parenthetically, I like this comprehensive approach. I think for folks with autism, we do need that comprehensive approach addressing everything, including the gut and so forth. So that's, I'm happy to hear that. But we also have kids, let's say as young as 2 or 3 up to the adolescent years. And of course, we see adults too, as Jet was saying. But, you know, is there, in terms of what we're trying to formulate protocols with you, and we're thankful for that. So for a toddler, infant, you know, what approach might be used versus an adolescent, you know, in terms of the formulation, let's say, of the microdaily EMF. So you begin to touch on it, the hydro stick versus capsule versus gummy. Can you give us some ideas about that?
Yeah, I think, you know, for example, children among 5 years or younger children, you know, it is difficult for them you don't need that much antioxidant for them to defend, to reduce oxidative stress and inflammation. And so they can be, you know, sometimes they can be mixed with the some kind of food that they like. Do you mix it? You know, sometimes you have, you get in a jar some food, applesauce or any kind of food, you can mix it there, the content. But because gummy, for example, until they are adult, they can't chew it. But suppose they're 2 years old, they can't chew the gummy. So what you do in that kind of scenario, then you have for example, I just said that 2 grams, the micro daily EMF would be the best one, but reduce the dose to 25% roughly. And so that you can mix with the food and then they can eat it. But once they become mature, that they can chew it at that age, then the gummy is there. But before that, you have to take care of, if you have very small children, 2 years old, for example, then how do you do it? And you know, for example, you know, hydro doesn't have it dissolve in water. You have a powder. You can make sure that you do 1/4 of the dose that the adult dose is you give in the morning and in the evening, and mix with that whatever feed. Like I used to feed my granddaughter with a spoon, some fruit or vegetable. You know, it used to come in a small vials, and so you can mix there very easily, and so that satisfies the. And same thing is, for example, omega-3 fatty acid or anything we have. Omega-3 fatty acid is so important and it is so non-toxic. Then you can break up the oil component and mix with the same kind of food. You know, you can mix all at one time. So gradually or divide it, you know, in a small time. You know, as long as the whole thing gets one time that I have provided it, it doesn't make difference how you do it, morning and the evening. Because those things are very critical, and the good thing about is hydro is they're in a powder form, and therefore it is easy. But even the capsule, you know, for example, is adult dose is 3 capsule. You can have a 1 capsule content. You see what I mean? So there is also content is the powder form. If you, I do all the time for myself because I hate swallowing so many capsules. So I do it so that way. But they have to have all those things that we have listed: is omega-3 fatty acid, probiotics, and only thing that I would say for the time being that if you are under like 2-3 years old, that don't take a CBD because that will be a complex situation. But the rest of them you can. And it is very important that you have omega-3 fatty acid, as you know. And they also improve the intestinal dysbiosis omega-3 fatty acid, and they have been trial in autism, and they find that there's some improvement in the overall symptoms of the disease. So it is very important, but that's why we have to handle. You are a doctor, you can do better, devise a better way to you know, convince your patient to how to take it. That's the way I think.
And we've been telling them to take it with food, you know, twice a day, better absorption and so forth.
Absorption, yeah, exactly. And also that, yeah, with the meal. So that's why the kids, you know, and if you are If you are, say, 6 to 12 years old, then you can take 1/3 very easily dose of adult. If you are between 12 to 17, then you take a half the dose. And adult, you take a full dose. And just the preventive dose. Therapeutic dose, we don't want to go for these particular conditions.
Well, thank you. That's great.
Dr. Jean Ronel, I'm looking at the next few questions. I think we need to dovetail into the answers that he actually wrote up a detailed one sheet with all the citations with the mechanisms of action for the products. Then we'll come back in because it looks like they're kind of, he actually created this paper from your questions.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
Great.
Excellent.
let's
Yes,
have
we're
them walk
eager
through.
to
I
hear
know.
that. Yes.
And let's pull that up for you guys. Let's see
Sure.
if I.
Ah,
Dr. Prasad, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Would you
I
mind,
can.
would you mind walking us through this
Yeah.
this paper that you've created, and we'll make sure both of you, Dr. Paul and Dr. Jean Ronel, that you'll get a copy of this paper.
great.
It's incredible. So
Yes.
Yeah, I think this is I prepared based on the question that you provided to Jeanette. And
That's
so,
great.
firstly, as you said, the increased oxidative stress and chronic inflammations, they participate in the development and progression of autism spectrum. And so how do you take care of that? Micro daily EMF or hydro would simultaneously, this is very important, simultaneously reduce oxidative stress and inflammation, and therefore improve the symptoms of the autism or autism spectrum disorder. Sometime I've written 80. The second very important thing is for their behavior is the hyperactivity is there. Why hyperactivity? Because autism patients have a increase the release of glutamate and low release or no release of the GABA, which is an inhibitory neurotransmitter. And so you get excited. So that creates hyperactivity. So how do you reduce that? Well, one thing is that, for example, the antioxidant can reduce the toxicity. Suppose some glutamate is already accumulated in the extra space of the brain, and so what you do, they will cause neuronal damage if you don't do anything. So antioxidant that we have in microdaily will reduce the toxicity, and then that in this case there's also that as you know, one of the treatment of the people recommend to patient with diabetes, patient with autism, is the inhibitor of serotonin reuptake. That is a approved drug, and doctor often, I don't know if you recommend it or not, some doctor recommends it. And CBD that we have it, they also act as an inhibitor of serotonin reuptake. Not only that, CBD has additional advantage because it also stimulates the muscarinic receptor, so serotonin receptor, so that the synthesis of serotonin increases. Plus, this is the only one serotonin also participates in preventing the release of the glutamate. And an antioxidant prevents the toxicity of glutamate. So this combination is very important. And CBD also increases the dopamine level. That means you are happy. Serotonin also stimulates the release of GABA, which that means hyperactivity in the patient would be markedly decreased. So this is one thing that have a problem, that increased level of glutamate and decreased level of GABA is associated with some of the symptoms that you observe in autism. And of course, intestinal dysbiosis, as you know, we refer it when the composition of the bacteria changes in favor of toxic bacteria, which produces a lot of toxic chemical, including pro-inflammatory cytokines that can damage your brain. Many things they can damage. So the question is, especially in the patient with this thing is so critical that they have even a problem of absorption, which I will deal later on. So question is, how do you correct intestinal dysbiosis? When one method of correcting is that you also take a good diet. I mean, diet, I'm sure you guys are more expert, a low-fat diet and things like that, but that's not enough. You have to have a probiotics with prebiotics that we have. And this way, then they reverse the intestinal dysbiosis. Now intestine is very healthy. At least partly it is healthy. You will see that how important is the digestive enzyme. But so intestinal dysbiosis we can take care like that. And there is even in any supplementation with probiotics increases the level of serotonin. Again, serotonin is being increased from many points, and this is important because serotonin calm you down. And this so this is very important to improve the symptoms of PCD. Now, deficiency of omega-3 fatty acid. This is very important because omega-3 fatty acid deficiency can cause increase again. It is further aggravate the intestinal dysbiosis. That's very important. And also the omega-3 fatty acid, they have shown that when they treat the patient with omega-3, some of these symptoms improve. As you know, they do one at a time. So supplementation with omega-3 fatty acid is very important. And those, as you mentioned, the children should be, you will see detailed protocol that how I have done it. Now, another thing, problem with the gut is that the secretin, the enzyme, is generated in the gut. So if your gut is not healthy, then what will happen? This secretin, this is a hormone, also called glucagon. Excuse me. Hello?
You need some water, Dr. Prasad?
Yeah, I found. So can I have my water there? I'm asking my wife to bring some water here. Being a professor, I keep talking. So secretin hormone is also called glucagon-like peptide 1. And this is generated in the gut. It's very important for many functions. But one of the function of this secretin is that to improve your communication. And what they found that if the gut is not very healthy, they are not going to produce it. And so they found that in a mouse, when they knock out the gene for secretin, mice cannot communicate it. And so this further confirmed the secretin is very important, and reduction in secretin occurs in patients with autism. So the question is how you improve it. Well, one way to improve is that I know is the collagen peptides. Collagen peptides, what it does, the reason also they decreases this secretin because there is a called enzyme DPP4, dipeptidyl peptidase. Tough one for me to pronounce it. So DPP4 enzyme. When this enzyme gets high, secretin goes down. So what collagen peptide does is it inhibits the activity of DPP4 and therefore increases the level of secretin. And if your level is secretin, your communication markedly improves. So you see, many things like this is so important that you have to affect all these parameters because disease is very complex.
Yes.
Another one, you can see that deficiency of protein digestive. This was surprising me because I was not aware of, because intestine in patient with is so messed up that digestive enzyme only they absorb carbohydrate and fat. Okay, it is the protein that they can't digest it, and as I said, that they measure when the urine level, you can see peptide level is very high. And so how do you correct it? Well, you take our digestive enzyme.
Why are
And-
you like,
Hello?
Go ahead, Dr. Prasad. I'm sorry.
That the digestive enzyme, they found that in a clinical study, that supplementation with digestive enzyme alone, without even other probiotics or anything, just alone, improve the hyperactivity by 80% and improve the communication by 90%.
Hmm.
This is amazing. And
Yes,
so,
it is.
I didn't do it because this is gut is so important. Without that healthy, and one of the healthy ways is the probiotics that shifted. But in this case, that is not sufficient because your digestive enzyme is messed up. So you have to also to make healthy. So once you give both, then it is in a very healthy state. It will be absorbed. Everything you are eating or taking micronutrient or whatever you are taking will be absorbed correctly. And in this case, even for example, the one thing people are not aware of as much, that suppose the protein is not being absorbed, the consequence is that collagen level in the brain will go down because collagen is protein. So if you are not absorbing protein, collagen is, and one of the major function of collagen, 30% of protein in our body is collagen, 30%. That is present in all organs, brain, heart, kidney, you name it. And one of the major function of collagen is to maintain the structural integrity. So suppose in patient with this, the autism is not being absorbed properly, so the collagen in the brain will go down and brain function will be impaired. And so it is very important to correct the digestive enzyme by giving a digestive enzyme. Even one patient that I think Jeff presented last night was a woman has this 7-year-old kid, and she did not give, to my knowledge, digestive enzyme. I still have some improvement, markedly improvement, not some markedly improvement. But if she would give a digestive enzyme, would have a phenomenal effect. So. So that's the reason that it is digestive enzyme so critical, and so as you can see that you just take one digestive enzyme, yeah, it will do, but if you don't take care of the intestinal dysbiosis, it is not going to be optimal effect. So that's why our approach has been to all together.
Yeah.
Then additional benefit, especially for adult or adolescents people, CBD. That, as I mentioned, that serotonin reuptake inhibitor is used in the treatment to calm you down. It is anxiety disorder. And in a case of autism, they also use tricyclic antidepressant medications. And so, but those guys have toxicity and so on and so forth. So I'm not saying that you should not recommend it, but recommend it in combination with all these things that we are proposing it. And it will improve the effectiveness of your drug. Because if you have intestinal dysbiosis, they interfere with the effectiveness of drug. So important.
True.
And in any disease, when you are using a medication, if you have intestinal dysbiosis, it will interfere the effectiveness. And so CBD is so important, and also it increases serotonin level and also prevents the release of the glutamate, so it is very important. And I gave all the references, so every statement I have made is supported by those references.
Oh, yes, they are.
Yeah, that is, we need to get a hold of that
Very
document
thorough.
as soon as possible. Yeah, our patients, they're very interested in this kind of evidence-based approach and why we're using
Yes, exactly.
different products, so that is going to be very helpful for us as
Yes.
I see that you break things down in the age breakdown. So
Yes.
I think that's good. But again, we really like the comprehensive approach. I hope we might, in the, maybe towards the end, share with our listeners how integrating all of these in the very complex autism population, how that does make a difference as opposed to just picking one of the microdaily EMF and forgetting let's say, the probiotic or the digestive enzyme, as you're mentioning, and even
Mhm.
collagen, which I had a question
And-
on. So collagen is
well-
one of them, one of those
Right.
products that some of our, Jed, is that okay, Jeanette, if I?
Yeah, Paul, I think you skipped. I was going to do question
okay.
3 because that
Okay, all
a
right.
little bit of a
You know
follow-up.
what? I had to take a breath for a second. I'm with you. I'm like, wow, did he just,
A lot of information, right?
you know what? And he made that for you. And now
Yeah,
for
That's great.
And depends upon, I did it because of your question. Otherwise, I would have.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Well,
excellent.
That is good.
So,
It's going
so
to
I think
benefit a
anything
lot
I
of
do
people.
when a question is, I have to go find out what happens, what
Yeah.
are the major problem,
Yeah.
and then
Yes.
say how I address it.
Mhm.
Yes.
It
So
took a long time to
that- Yes.
prepare them.
Go ahead. Yes. Yes. So can I go ahead and ask a question then?
Absolutely.
Yes. So thank you, Dr. Prasad. That was very thorough, and we like the mechanism of action, tying everything together. And indeed, patients with ASD have a multi-systemic, multi-organ, lot of involvement, neurotransmitters, hormones.
Yes,
All of that.
It's a very
Yes.
complex disease, much more
Yeah.
complex than many other neurological diseases.
Yes, for sure.
That's right. So leading up to my next question. So first of all, understanding the mechanism of action and how to treat these simultaneously can translate into clinical improvement. And we have a patient, I think mom may be on the call, one of our patients with 25, we have permission to talk about her, has been on these products and has done wonderful, has done very well. In fact, mom called me one night and just almost in tears and excitement to let me know how her 25-year-old daughter that I followed for many years was doing extremely well on the micro daily products.
And I think, what I would suggest that if you can collect on any specific age group or multi-age group, some data on that one, because you have
Yes.
ability to do it. Right now, when we write a paper, for example, if I write a paper on this issue for publication, you can name the product. And you can say micronutrient mixture, but you can give a product. So, but if you have it, then you can share the authorship, and we can publish in a very respectable. Observational data is perfectly okay to do it.
Yes.
And once
Absolutely.
the observational data is out, then they will run a double-blind, placebo-controlled trial. We are not really capable of doing it, but we can collect observational data. That's for sure.
Yes, so we'll definitely do that together, Dr. Prasad.
Yeah.
So this leads me to my next question then, which is kids on the autism spectrum, they're interesting but challenging at the same time. And
Yes.
some kids may have oral texture issues. They're very sensitive, or they may be very restricted in their eating. And so the question then is, how do we approach taking various supplements that can help? For example, the gut, dysbiosis, digestive enzymes, EMF supplements, CBD, versus a kid who might be able to start just one thing at a time. Maybe they're very sensitive. What are the pros and cons of starting one versus trying to do several supplements at once?
No, I think that's good, because one of the problem is the intestinal problem. It creates allergic reactions, because when the peptide goes down, they become like a foreign object, and so it does create a problem. So I would say that if you have to do limited one to start with micro daily EMF, and a digestive enzyme and probiotics. Those three, you can do it. First, so that they don't get any allergic reaction, correct the intestinal dysbiosis and digestive enzyme. Once the intestine is in good shape, there won't be any allergic reaction. Allergic reaction is because when the peptides are formed, but it doesn't think that it's for a long time, I stay there, all different types of peptides. What are these,
Yes.
And so they create some kind of allergic reaction. That's what they say in the literature, suggests that this is one of the causes of could have been allergic reaction. So if you correct it, and then, so at least micro daily is a must. And these two, if you give 3 at a time, then see how it is.
That's good. And right before
These are observation, and as you are a doctor, as you go along, then you say, yeah, this is tolerating very well, man, let us do this,
Yes.
As long as you have framework to work with, then you can do all these things.
That's right. Right before my brother goes on to the next question, just before I forget, I know that EMF, for example, is twice daily.
Yes.
But sometimes for whatever reason, a kid might start out with one a day, although we encourage twice a day with food. If someone's on once a day, let's say have an EMF, micro daily EMF, is there lack of benefit because your studies have shown twice a day, or is there actual harm and danger in taking
No,
once a day
no,
instead of twice a day? Can you
there's no harm, If you,
No harm.
for example, if you take the reason we recommend it to is the following: for long term, but not for short term. Long is that what we do when I was in Denver, we monitored expression of 12,000 genes.
Hmm.
And my technician, postdoctoral fellow was expert in doing that. So we did the gene expression. When you vary on a cell culture model, when you vary the concentration of, in this case, was vitamin E succinate, one form of vitamin E. And then he said, let us see, is there any change in gene expression? The difference compared to untreated one is remarkable as you increase the concentration of the antioxidant, in this case, vitamin E. Then I said, that's amazing. But what happens when you take in human, the biological half-life in blood of these macronutrients are variable. Some are released in 6 hours, some are 8 hours. So generally, half of them will be gone by evening. Another half so your blood is getting a lot of fluctuations in the level of antioxidant, and that can alter the gene expression. For 1 week or 2 weeks, it makes no difference. But if you get it chronically, during that process, one time they can do error. And when the error happens, it can cause mutation. Not all mutations are harmful, but some mutation could be harmful. So in order to avoid those kinds of genetic expression problem, we said we do half in the morning, half in the evening.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, long term.
Yeah, but like you said in the beginning, the kids are there especially to give whatever dose I recommended, is try just one time. Because these are all, when we developed the formulation for adult, it was for long-term consumption, not for over a few days. But once you get it adjusted to and everybody liking, then you can start doing twice a day. But there is no, only reason is this one, to prevent genetic.
So in the short term, as we figure things out.
Yeah, figure out this is okay. One time would be okay.
But then long term, So I was gonna, you touched on one of the elements or products that our patient who's doing really well, and by the way, she has been nonverbal, and has had a lot of challenges, self-injurious behavior, regulation of, regression, anxiety. So we're really happy that we can target these things.
Yes.
But but one product you touched on collagen. So can you tell us a little bit more about that? Where does that fit in? So we understand about the multivitamin, basically, which is called microdaily EMF, and all the methyl, vitamins, all the good things in there. The CBD can help with anxiety, sleep, and so forth. But what about collagen? And I noticed we talk of collagen peptide, and say a little bit more about how that fits in with this complex condition. How might that?
Yeah. I mean, for example, as I said that we have a micro daily EMF. I think, as I said, that if you have to do only 3 things right away, at least for a week or 2 weeks, I will use the micro daily EMF because that will reduce oxidative stress inflammation. This will also reduce the potential toxicity of glutamate. And then also that I will use the digestive enzyme and probiotics. Probiotics will correct intestinal dysbiosis, so your gut is totally healthy. Once the gut is healthy, that any kind of nutrient you take, whether you diet from the diet or anything, will be absorbed properly. And then overall feeling would be much better. And so until you correct the intestine, no matter what you do is not going to be as effective. I know that in some cases in the past, micronutrient alone has been some value, marked value, because it is oxidative stress also is reduced. If you reduce, then indirectly it also affects the intestinal dysbiosis, not the same degree like probiotics. So I think it is good to start with those three products because you cannot ignore intestinal dysbiosis and digestive enzyme.
I want to also, Dr. Prasad, bring you back. So the paper, which I believe is novel, that he brought back about the protein digestion, I think that this would be a helpful, because it's a collagen peptide, that they'll be able to finally get the building blocks
Yes,
for
yes.
the enzymes in their body.
Yes,
the building
yeah.
blocks for the DNA.
For,
And-
everything. I mean, you know, this is so important that when you take a collagen peptide, they can build up the collagen. Otherwise, collagen was lacking because it could not absorb protein. And collagen, that can interfere a lot of communication between brain functions. You know, there have been, in Alzheimer's cases, there was a clinical study done. Then when they supplemental, they found that, you know, PET scanning, that the brain certain area have shrink. They didn't know why, but now we know why. And then when they did a collagen peptides, 12 weeks, not only the structure improved of the brain, but also cognitive function improved because of the collagen peptides was providing enough collagen. And we have in our collagen peptides, we have also inhibitor of collagenase, because just give you collagen peptide, then it will new collagen will form but degraded quickly because collagenase activity has increased, and that's why you are losing in a general population. But in this cases, problem is autism is absorption. Nothing is being absorbed protein.
And Dr. Prasad, like you said before, the body in the autistic children see the protein as foreign. It's foreign because it's not breaking down. So
Yeah, exactly.
right, that's a lot of the response.
Yeah. That creates an allergic reaction.
Okay.
Well, while we're still on the collagen peptide, and I notice it's formulated with hyaluronic acid and so forth. So does that help too? In other words, what makes this collagen different from any other collagen?
Yeah, the major difference is collagen peptide is that we have added a inhibitor of the collagenase from two sources. One is the amla extract. Amla is the Indian, America they call gooseberry, but India very common and has been used in Ayurvedic medicine forever, thousands of years. It has many other functions, but one of the functions that I was interested in, that it also acts as an inhibitor of collagenase. And then we found also that white tea extract. So the combination of those two provided a more inhibition of collagenase and elastase. And then I said, yeah, so that is the only difference we have, that these two inhibitors, because then any sustained collagen level remain for a longer period of time. Otherwise, if you don't inhibit the collagenase, then they will be degraded again. And as you grow older, then enzyme collagenase increases, and that's why you see loss. You can see loss of collagen in the skin, but how about brain? How about heart? How about kidney? You don't see it, but they are decreasing there too.
And it's patented. And
it is patented, yeah, that's right, yeah.
Okay. We have like 4 minutes left. So Dr.
Yeah.
Do you want
I have to go for dinner at 6.
I know.
Right.
We just want to, first of all, before we move on, can we get you two back again and talk about
Sure.
another
Yes.
Yeah, we'd like to.
I
Absolutely.
love to do
We'd
it.
love it.
Because after this, they will think more questions or more better way to do it. I'm always open to suggestions, and I can modify the protocol that I have given based on your suggestions.
Yes.
And we'll make sure the two of you get a copy of that amazing document.
Yes.
We'd
I
love
mean, that was a working document,
Please,
really, draft.
Yes.
And I always said that, to Janet and Dr. Cord, that if you have any suggestions, I'm willing to pay attention to.
What about your patient that's on? Do we want to hear from them? Do you want to hear from them from another time? How would you guys like to proceed in the remaining few minutes of this call? What would be the best way for us to end this call?
Yes. John, what do you think?
Well, okay. Well, Paul, the thing is, there were two more questions I was going to try to quickly combine into one, real brief. I know time because I've been following the clock as well.
We
and
can have
trying to
part
get as
two.
much as we can packed.
We'll do it.
But yeah, so I'll make it real quick. And so just wanted to see with the micro daily products and EMF, especially with kids, and also mitochondrial function, because with autism, we're now seeing that mitochondrial derangements, dysfunction play a much bigger role in autism than was once previously thought. So
Yeah.
how do mitochondrial or the micronutrients, the micro daily support mitochondria and help with EMF?
Yeah, actually, there has been demonstration that, as you know, mitochondria is the one who produce free radical. At the same time, they are themselves sensitive to free radicals, extremely sensitive because membrane structure. So what it has been shown that antioxidant supplementation will improve mitochondrial function by preventing any further damage, and they also they sometimes they divide under certain conditions, and so I think they improve. This much has been shown, because that mitochondrial dysfunction is also associated with other neurological diseases, and they found that antioxidant can improve the function of mitochondria. And I don't know about because I have not looked on the issue, but there is another is called the autophagy dysfunction. And as you know, the role of autophagy to remove the dead cells, particles, and unwanted protein, and so on. So they become defective, and then it interfere with the cell function. And so microdaily does improve the function of autophagy. So it has a complex function. It is not just free radical as scavenger, but it has also many other functions that.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
For people on here, Dr. Prasad already has 24 million in research in one micronutrient that
microdaily,
protected against ionizing radiation. And
so, also EMF.
Right. And now the EMF protects against the non-ionizing radiation like EMF. And the children's gummy for everyone on here has been patented, which means it's proven to reduce oxidative stress and inflammation simultaneously, right? Reduce glutamate and glutamase toxicity and protect your children from 5.4 and 5G exposure.
Yes. Okay.
So Dr. Prasad, are we wrapping up?
Yes, because I have to go for dinner.
Okay. All right, everyone. Well, I want to thank everyone so much for being on the call tonight. Thank you, Dr. Prasad.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank you so much for the
Dr. Prasad.
Have another session.
Dr. Prasad.
Anytime
Thank
you want,
you.
we are
That was great,
there. I'm
Dr.
there
Prasad.
for you. Okay. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Get back to the person that invited you.
Thank you,
Wait
Dr.
for
Prasad.
more.
Thank you, brothers.
Thank you, Dr. Prasad.
Thank you.
call.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Dr.
Paul.
Prasad.
So much. We love
Thank you,
you.
Dr.
job.
Prasad. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you all.
Excellent call.
Bye-bye.
Yes.
Thank you.
all.
Thank you, Mr. John.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This will be on TeamServe on YouTube, and I want to thank both Dr. Paul Corbier and Dr. Jean-Ronel Corbier, and we look forward to hearing from you again. And I want to say thank you for serving this population, and I know they're suffering, and you're doing great work. So we'll hear.
Thank
you so
you.
much. We appreciate it.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bless you.
Bye-bye. God bless.